everyone, and welcome back to my monthly crafting and talking show, Craftversations, where this month my guest is the very intelligent, the very ingenuitive?
Yeah, that's not a word.
What is the correct? Smart, wonderful, extremely talented and prolific, Corey Lubowich! Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
You probably know Corey from being a tin can brother, from writing and directing a show I was in earlier this year, Spies Are Forever, and a lot of other things that he's done. You do it all, sir. And today, you're gonna craft.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry that the craft we have today is, not that intricate. Everyone was like, make Corey build a rocket ship. We're just going to make some Christmas decorations. Some holiday decorations, excuse me. We're going to do some ornament making.
Awesome.
You ready?
Yeah.
If you want to join us at home, here's what you will need. You will need some ornaments that are plain, that you can craft with. And then you'll need all sorts of manner of things to decorate them with. Some paint, some glitter. What would I do without you, Corey? To point at things. Some ribbon, some glue, and some stickers of various holiday kinds. So yeah, that's all you need. You want to go for it?
Yeah.
I guess I should take this opportunity to say, you may notice that we're in a different location than usual, and it's a lot more boring on the walls, and I apologize. But that's because I just moved, and I haven't quite decorated yet, so you'll just have to pay attention to our scintillating conversation today.
For the next episode, it'll just be covered in Christmas ornaments.
Yeah, exactly, even though it'll be January. You requested white and silver and gold.
Yes.
So that's what I got.
All of my roommates' Christmas decorations are in that color scheme. And I don't know if I'd be allowed to put anything else up.
Really?
Yeah.
So the thing I saw said to just pour paint in. And of course there are many different ways we can decorate these ornaments. I'm going to try some with glue. I'm going to try some with paint. Let your imagination run wild. So Corey, how's life?
It's fine.
What's going on with you these days?
A
A lot, I can tell.
A lot, nothing, all of the above, none of the above.
I believe you and the Tin Can Brothers have a new undertaking recently. Would you like to tell us about that?
We're doing an internet improv show.
That's so cool.
So it's like a live streamed improv show. It's for Geek and Sundry, Felicia Day's production company. And it's like a choose your own adventure improv show. So the cast is like me, Joey, and Brian. And then Lauren Lopez and our friend Ashley Skidmore, who's done some videos and was in our sketch show. But yeah, so it's like a choose your own adventure improv show. So people watching at home basically get to vote on what happens during the story.
That's fun.
So choices pop up and you get to vote. Yeah, so we're a month into our run of that, and we're theming the episodes of every month. So we started off doing deep space stuff, and we just switched last week to cheesy holiday movies.
That's so fun. We came a couple weeks ago to see the show, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. You guys were super funny.
Thank you. It's very silly. It's very strange because also you guys were the only audience. And doing improv for no audience.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, there are people watching at home online, but it's hard because you don't hear laughs. So that's been very strange to adapt to.
Yeah, totally. Well, we were laughing a lot because we thought it was hilarious. I mean, you guys are our friends, so we're biased, I guess, but it was so fun.
It was funny because the choices that people vote on, the week you came, the voting was broken.
Oh yeah.
So you guys just got to make all the choices. It became clear why we're friends. Because you guys picked what we thought.
What you would have picked.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
And the audience that the streaming audience doesn't always. They surprise us a lot. We're really? You didn't go for that?
That's so funny. It's an interesting way to get to know your audience, I guess. Now they're doing this as a part of their new subscription
streaming service.
Yeah, called Alpha. So do you feel the people watching the show are largely like your fans, or are they like different people?
I literally have no idea.
It's interesting.
I literally have no idea who's watching the show because we can't watch the chat because we're doing...
Oh, right, totally, because you're performing. Now, have you done a lot of improv yourself?
Absolutely not.
How are you enjoying it?
Oh,
How do you feel
it's
about
terrifying.
it? I personally am scared of improv. I haven't ever done an improv class or anything. I would not really want to do it in front of people, so I can identify with that.
It's the sort of thing where I'm fine
Yeah.
in a situation where, like, okay, you have to do a thing and you have to make it up. You're just going for it. It's like, okay, I can figure that out.
Sure.
I'm really, like, I get so in my head trying to jump in. Playing improv games, I always hated the ones where you had to, like, freeze or whatever, where you, like, have to actively jump into a scene. That is the most terrifying thing.
I get that. That's not my jam. I mean, and you're performing now in this when you've been in a bunch of the sketches you guys have done and stuff, but
Were you going to say I'm not a performer?
No, I just say
I'm
you
not a
do.
performer.
You do more of the behind the scenes stuff than Brian and Joey do.
Yeah, so ultimately, I'm really glad that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It feels good, and particularly for me, but it's sort of interesting about the way this show works. It feels like a lot of times there's no audience, even though there is. We get feedback, but not really. So it sort of feels like you're not chasing the laugh. Like sometimes I think people on stage, you chase the laugh. So you're not doing that, and it feels a lot like a rehearsal. It's less terrifying for me, and it feels more like, oh, we're just playing with my friends, and we've got some other friends watching, so it's like not
that's good.
super intimidating, which has been really nice.
How long have you guys been working on that now? A while, yeah?
Yeah. Our first show was like the beginning of November, and we had been rehearsing like, I mean, it wasn't like all the time, but like probably 5 or 6 weeks before that.
Oh, okay.
And before that, we had been working on like designing the show. I've got like spots that I can't like get, but I like don't want to.
No, it's fine. There's more paint. I have more than what's on the table, so use as much as you like. How long do you think you guys will do it? Is it like indefinite for now, or?
We're definitely contracted through like the end of January.
Okay.
And then basically they have the option of doing more.
I see.
So I don't know what their plans are, what they're looking for.
Right.
We're just trying to make a funny.
Yeah. So, you and I worked together quite a bit earlier this year on Spies Are Forever.
I don't recall.
You did. Have you tried to wipe it from your memory?
No. It was a good time, actually.
It was so fun, and that was the first time I'd been on stage in like 5 years, and I was super excited you guys asked me to be a part of it. Not only for that reason, but also you had me play a character that I don't like normally play characters like, so that was really fun. And we just had a grand old time. How was your Did you agree? Did you have a grand old time?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot.
Yes, it was a lot. We put it up real fast.
Yeah. We had, like, 3.5 weeks of it was, like, 1 month from, like, the first read-through to opening. That's crazy. That was stupid.
What did you do?
No.
Oh.
The schedule.
The schedule was stupid. But we made it.
It was, like,
made it work.
Yeah, we made it work. And partially it was like, oh, we can't afford more time in the theater and this and that. But there was definitely a point during Tech Week when I was there at 2 a.m. with my roommate painting the stage. And I was like, I would literally give all the money in the world for an extra day, let alone an extra week.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I was just like, I want to be in bed right now.
But I feel like, I don't know, at some point, like, no matter what, that kind of happens.
I had a professor who would always say, the work will always expand to fill the time allotted.
Yeah, exactly. I am impressed with us that we did as much as we did with that in the time span that we did, for sure.
Oh, totally. Honestly, that'd be a lot to make happen if it was a show that already existed.
Right, yeah.
The fact that we were, like, giving you guys new pages. And,
yeah. Well, because it was original. But it was great. I mean, not most of us, some of us have never had that experience of originating a show before. Myself and Kurt and those Star Kid kids are used to it, but it was really fun for us to get to do that, for sure. Tell us about, like, your background in the theater and, like, how you got started and everything.
My life in the theater.
Yeah, tell us. Because normally I have actors on here, which is great, but you're a little different, and I think some people might enjoy hearing your perspective.
In 4th grade, I was in a production of James and the Giant Peach.
Oh my god, yes.
I was James.
Fantastic.
But I also made a bunch of the props.
Oh,
Because I got excited about making shark fins.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Cardboard shark fins.
Yeah, who wouldn't be?
Yeah. And I think I made a bunch of, like, ocean waves, too.
Uh-huh.
That was the beginning of my life in the theater.
Uh-huh.
No, I, like, did, like, a show in junior high, and I was, like, in it and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then freshman year of high school, I was like, okay, cool. The theater program at my high school was, like, pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so freshman year, I was like, oh, this is exciting. And I, like, went to one day of, like, crew where I, like, worked in this scene shop. I was like, this is cool. Okay. And a friend of mine was auditioning for the first play of the year. And she was like, come audition with me. I was like, okay, that's fine. But, like, this is sort of cool. I, like, want to learn how to build things in the scene shop.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, like, auditioned with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got cast. We were, like, the only 2 freshmen that got cast.
In what show was this?
Much Ado About Nothing.
Oh, nice. Who'd you get cast as?
I was the friar.
Okay.
That's Friar Francis.
Friar Francis.
It's like Friar Lawrence's Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
But so that started, like, I was in a lot of shows, like, in high school, actually.
Uh-huh. But were you always, like, doing stuff on the, like, technical side as well, or?
Part of, like, the way our program worked was, like, you had to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you were cast in a show first, or, like, in, the fall semester,
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't get cast in a spring semester show unless you did, like, 10 hours or 20 hours of, like,
interesting.
crew work.
This was in high school?
Mm-hmm. And that was, like, also partially, like, to, like, become a, like, member of the Thespian Society, you also had to put in, like, that amount of work, too.
I was a thespian, but I didn't have to do that much. I never really did any crew work in high school, I don't think.
We also had, like, amazing teachers. For several of the years I was there, like, the tech director, scenic designer, was, like, this amazing designer named Eric Appleton. He's a professor at one of the University of Wisconsin's now.
Oh, okay.
But he just designed these, like, gorgeous sets and was, like, an amazing teacher, how to build a flat and, like, why.
Mm-hmm.
And he was really good about, like, giving you some room to explore and, like, learn. But then also he would make it look nice if you, like, didn't.
If you didn't make it look nice. That's awesome.
So I got, like, a bunch of experience doing that. And it was only, like, honestly, towards the end of, like, my junior year where it's like, wait a second. Do I like this more?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome that in high school you had such a, I don't know, my high school now has a much better theater program, but it was pretty scant when I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, there were kids that did tech stuff for sure, but there just wasn't we only did a couple shows a year,
Mm-hmm.
there just wasn't as much opportunity.
I think we did 7 or 8.
That's a lot. That's
It was a
awesome.
lot.
I would have loved that.
It was, like, an exhausting thing if you did every show,
Mm-hmm.
because every, like, 6 weeks it was, like, another project.
Mm-hmm.
But what was cool about that is, like, not all of them were huge shows,
Mm-hmm.
because it wasn't about, like, trying to cram as many people into one show as possible, because, like, there was another show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's really nice. I definitely didn't have that experience, and I would have liked that in high school, although I think my high school now has a lot more to offer. So did you always live in Skokie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you went to
Mm-hmm.
Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you got hooked up with all these peeps then, I guess.
Yeah.
What was the first, like, Star Kid thing you worked on?
All the stuff, like, that Matt and Nick came up with was, like, presented through, like, Basement Arts, this student theater organization.
Yes, okay.
And I was on the board.
Okay.
Like, the first Potter I wasn't involved with, but I was on the board. So, like,
Okay.
I remember, like, Matt coming in to pitch it.
I see.
So that stuff was around, and, like, I think that was the first one I saw. I was like, oh, that's cool. I'd want to work with them in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next fall, like, that opportunity sort of rose. So my first show was Me and My Dick.
Okay, yes, which I have not seen, but I hear it's great.
It's fine. It's a show that, like, I've gone through phases of, like, oh, this is funny. I was like, oh, I don't know about this show. And like,
Sure.
oh, wait, actually, if you reframe it, it could be, like, really good if you did it better, like, if we did it again. And then it's like, oh, or maybe not.
What were you usually doing for those shows?
I designed scenery for that show.
Okay.
But then also, like, helped out with like doing a bunch of like other things.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're like, oh, we're going to do a sequel to the Potter thing, I was like, hey, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, do you know a costume designer? I was like, yeah, I would like to do it also. Thank you. So I designed scenery and costumes for that.
Nice.
Not like I had so much help. There's not a chance
For
I
sure.
could have executed that all on my own. My current roommate, Amy, helped paint the set because she's like an amazing painter and helped with the props. And my friends June and Yonit were associates and helped with all the costumes because there were so many costumes.
So when did you start doing design work for
Like the graphic stuff?
Yes, yeah.
For a couple of years, I did a ton of I ran the merchandise. And that just sort of grew naturally out of the part of the reason I got connected with Ricky at another t-shirt company, and they did t-shirts in the lobby for this Harry Potter sequel, because I felt bad because I was spending so much money on the scenery in the set. Or in the costumes. In retrospect, it wasn't that much, but when probably the entire budget of the first Potter was maybe $1,000.
Wow.
I probably costumes and scenery spent $5,000 on the sequel.
Whoa. Dang. And so
in retrospect, that's so little money.
Right.
But at the time, that was a lot, and I felt bad because I was Matt and Nick were funding this. So I was like, oh, maybe I can help raise a little bit of money because I'm spending a lot of it.
Through
we can sell some t-shirts or stuff.
That's smart.
So then I did Harry Potter sequel, and then sort of grew from there when they moved to Chicago.
So tell me about, we've had Joey and Brian on the show, but how did you guys...
For me, I'm very offended.
I had Joey a year ago. He was my
I watched the video,
episode.
the sketch. Do you remember what we did?
Yeah, where you guys were mad.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I just rewatched it. It was really funny.
So good. So how did you guys decide to do Tin Can, and where did that all come from?
Joey and Brian were both producers on a project we did in Chicago, The Last Days of Judas Iscariot, a play we produced. So we worked pretty closely there, and I think towards the end of that process, it was clear that I was going to be moving to California, and we were just talking about ideas for things. And so when I moved, it was just hey, let's just do some stuff. We had a couple ideas for sketches we wanted to do, and I was I guess we should make a channel or to collect it all. I think Joey and Brian were at a place where hey, after doing Judas, we're we don't have to wait around to do stuff.
Right.
So let's just make some stuff. And the thought, really early on, and both stupidly and not stupidly, we're gonna make a video every week. And the idea being hey, it'll be good practice. We'll learn a lot and get a lot of chances to mess up and try something new, and when the stakes aren't very high.
Right, totally.
So that's sort of how that started.
So what made you guys decide to go to do a full-fledged musical? Which is a totally different undertaking than a few
After 2 years of sketches, we sort of were at a point where this is we like that but it's not as satisfying as a longer full-length narrative.
Totally.
Coming from the theater, that's what we like. That's what we're into.
I just am agreeing from Shipwreck's perspective in that we do sometimes do little one-offs, but we really enjoy doing longer form, and I think that's what we want to continue.
Which is great, and it's so much more rewarding, and it's so much harder and so much more expensive.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a lot more work. But I agree that after a while, just little sketches kind of don't really, at least to me, aren't super fulfilling.
Yeah, and they're easier to do in general. But then the payoff isn't as...
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, we're just brainstorming ideas, and the idea of doing a musical sort of thing. The three of us aren't really musicians per se, but I think we're pretty musical. So we've done other musical type things.
Right. That's very much in your wheelhouse.
And so I think from an outside perspective, it seems a huge leap and a huge crazy thing to next thing to try, but to us it made sense.
Totally. It's funny how many people came to the show and were wow, this was a real musical. And we were yeah.
Yeah, what do you think we've been doing?
They were like, "Oh, it was just like way more professional than I expected," and we were like, "Okay, I mean, yes, like
Thank
that's
you.
what we wanted
That's
to
like a compliment,
do."
but also because your expectations were...
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know what people expected, but we surpassed those expectations, I guess, which is great. Forgive me. Have you directed something of that size before?
Yes, I've like done musicals. It's like physically no. I think that's the largest stage.
Right.
Space.
Well, I meant like.
But like, what
Would you hand me those glitters?
I've directed a couple other like musicals before this.
Mm-hmm. How would you say Spies like compared to those?
I didn't write the other ones. So, on the one hand, it's easier because you're not worried about like, does the story work?
Right. Totally.
Like, do we need to change the script? Because
Totally.
that's just not an option.
Right.
But then on the other hand, there's more control, both in a good way and a bad way. So the other ones were, like, I didn't write them, so I wasn't worried about that. But then sometimes there are, like, very specific requirements. We're like, figure out, okay, how do we do this?
Right.
Because we have to do it. Versus, like, in, like, Joey, Brian, and I creating our own musical, you realize you have, if something's not working, you realize you have multiple tools to like try to figure out how to fix it. There's a storytelling issue, something's not clear. Is it something that we should fix by changing the script? Is it something that we should fix by directing it differently, acting it differently? Is it like there are multiple ways to attack the problem versus there are like it just removes one of those tools if it's like a play that someone else wrote.
Do you like directing? Do you want to like continue?
I like it a lot.
Yeah. It's interesting because you bring that sort of like designer mindset to what you do as a director. And I don't know, I haven't really worked with a lot of directors that kind of have that background. It's different. It's cool though. This glitter is not working like I wanted it to, and I am mad about it. I put glue, and then I glittered on top of the glue, but it's sticking everywhere.
I think you'll be able to like wipe it off later. I think it's just static.
Once it dries better?
Yeah, because I just like touched it, and it was just like...
Right, it's just sticking. Sorry to ask you this question, but everybody wants to know. Is there more life for Spies? Do we know?
Yes and no.
Yes and no, okay.
As you know, Spies never die.
Spies never die.
We want to do it again. So we're just trying to figure out how...
Yeah, that's always the question, right?
Yeah. Like how to like further that. So we're looking at like ways to possibly do something in New York. We're at the point of still exploration and trying to figure it out. And like nothing's off the table because we're really proud of the show and we want to do it again. Also, we're not done with it because we want to change things.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Brian the other night, and he was like just talking about how much he would like to revise and change, and I think that's really interesting. Like I said, I've never been a part of an original production before. I would love to do it again and like see what you guys do change and like experience it as like a sort of living, breathing like thing that's...
And it'd be so interesting because so much of the base work we've already done. So we wouldn't be starting from scratch.
Totally.
It's the sort of thing where I think John Lasseter says this about like Pixar movies, but that they're never done. They just get released.
That's so interesting.
That's sort of how I felt about the show. It like wasn't done. We just opened.
Right. To be fair, I think it's pretty good. I think it's a good show. I think there's I don't know. I would be curious to see what you guys would change.
There's some like shuffling around of certain things, and it's stuff where like Joey, Brian, and I like agree on like the issue, what we're trying to fix is, but we don't yet agree on what the solution is. Yeah.
Well, how are your ornaments going over there, Corey?
Good. I'm just like trying to get the base of all of them.
I like how you and I have different workflows here. I'm just going off to explore.
This is a product of school.
You've like got a system.
Well, my costume design professor was always like, I know sometimes you get really excited and you want to just like work on a sketch and then finish it and paint it and like get it all pretty. But if you're working on a show and one of them is like fully realized like that and the rest of them are like not, it gets distracting. It's hard for a director or a shop or someone to like visualized everything as a whole. If one of them is so far like further along than all the other ones. So
interesting.
And it's hard to do sometimes, but her methodology was always work on everything like little by little, like incrementally, so that at any point you can show all of them and they look like they're at the same state of completion. Not applicable to Christmas ornaments, but that's how my brain thinks of like working.
No, I don't know. I don't know anyone like you, really. Not that you're one of a kind. You just come at things with a very like design-minded perspective, and it's really interesting. Considering most of our friends are like actors, and it's just a totally different. The way your brain approaches things is, to me, very different, and it's cool. Do you have any advice for somebody who would like to get into either like design work or directing?
I mean, if you're interested in directing, learn about everything, because it like might not be your job, but like everything's your problem.
That's so true.
I didn't know what I wanted to do in school, and so we had to take every design production student had to like take like an intro stage management class and costume design, set design, lighting. Like you had to do one of everything, and I like took multiple. Like I went much deeper into all of them because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like at one point I was like, maybe I'm a lighting designer, and then I was like, oh, absolutely not.
Why? What made you not want to do that?
It was just like overwhelming. My brain thinks much clearer in that way now, but it didn't back
at the
then.
time. Interesting.
Like a lighting designer more than other designers has to think so much about technology in terms of like what instruments they have, what can they do, where do you want to put them, so that you have enough tools in your toolbox for when you get in the theater. And there's a lot of paperwork and things that you're expected to do. And my brain just didn't quite was hard to like bridge that gap. I think it actually understands it more now.
That's fair.
But yeah, so I did a lot of everything, which ultimately I think helps.
That's good.
I can like speak the language.
Totally. I think that's wise advice for directors of any medium, film, theater, all of that.
And awesome. that said, like, you know, I think it applies to like actors too. Like all of that stuff all of your experiences inform you.
I agree.
And like maybe that just makes you more empathetic when you're in like a costume fitting and it's like going along and like trying to figure out. But if you've like tried to build a costume, like then you have a better sense of like what's going on, because ultimately everyone's on the same team.
Do you like, not saying that you have to do one or the other, but like would you ultimately rather work in theater than film, or? I
like them both. I have a better understanding of theater. Like just that's where I grew up in. My brain very much understand, like I walk into an empty theater and my brain like knows exactly what to do, like do with that, and that's like super special. But on the other hand, like I wouldn't want to do just one or the other.
Totally. This video was sponsored by Paul Komoroski, one of my patrons who's been incredibly supportive of me and my projects this year. Thank you, Paul. You are a wonderful, bright soul, and I hope you have a very wonderful holiday season.